Hi, my name is Heather Feather. I'm the owner of Rare Bird Medicine, and today I wanted to talk about numerology for 2021. I'm going to talk a little bit about the numerology for today specifically. I'm planting a seed. If you want to follow the growth of that seed, you can just do a little math every day. Fun! So 2020 was a hindsight visionary year. But if you take the number 2 and add it to 0, and then 2, and then 0, which is 2020, you're going to get the number 4. So last year we were working with the number 2, or cooperation and balance, and we were doubling down on that in order to get to 4, or stability and process, which means that 2020 was all about learning to maintain balance. And that sentiment was echoed by having 2 2s in the number to get our single digit numerology. We were really being given a lot of opportunity last year to get balanced and to cooperate, to learn how to cooperate with others, to learn how to cooperate with our own inner wisdom. And we have some of those same numbers in 2021, but when you add 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 1, you get the number 5. So initially what I'm talking about is just the annual frequency for the year. So this is a 5-year. Last year was a 4-year. 4 is all about stability and process, which has to do with trying to ground, get centered in chaos. Usually 4 energy draws tornado-like energy to itself and then tries to stabilize in the chaos of tornado-like energy. That's what I've found to be relatively true for 4. So that's what we've been doing. It's been intense for many. In the coming year, we're going to have a 5-year. So we're going to add a 1 into the 2 2s with 2021. We get 2 2s and a 1 this year to move towards our 5, or freedom and discipline. So the beauty of that 1 coming in, not only is that we move from 4 to 5, but it also adds an energetic dynamic called creativity and confidence. It's the most independent, individualistic, self-reliant number in numerology. The beauty of numerology, and the reason most people can align with it, is because there is mathematics back of the universe. We can look at the Fibonacci sequence, we can look at sacred geometry. There's math back of everything. Like everything you see of me on video is just, it's equations. And so math is a language of life. It is a universal language. Math is a language that all cultures speak. So when we look at numbers, we actually can use our logical, just sound reasoning abilities to reason with a number. If you reason with the number 1, if there is one person, only one, then that one person would need to be very creative. If there was one person on planet Earth, and we weren't in the modern age, that one person would have to be very creative about how they're going to build their shelter, get their food, find their water source, cook their meal, all of that in one day with just their energy, their individual, independent, self-reliant energy. They would have to use their creative mind, like, ooh, maybe I can fashion a net to catch fish while I build the shelter. They would need to use their creative mind quite a bit to problem solve, because it's up to them to make it happen. And they would need to be confident about the actions and movements that they made to build their world. So 1 is a very independent, creative, self-reliant number. And we're having that added to the cooperation and balance that will be doubled down on in this coming year as well. So the year is continuing to ask us to cooperate with others. Not everyone holds all the wisdom you hold within yourself. So if you see someone doing something that you would judge as ignorant, rather than placing yourself in a state of ignorance by judging them, understand that it's viable. You have understandings that you've grown and developed in that two-legged has not. So just giving some compassionate understanding. 2 is a really great number of service. 2 is where when you have another person, it's called cooperation and balance, because if there's 2 people, Then one person can go get the food source while one person builds the shelter. But you do have to cooperate. You do have to get along when you add another person, when you add a second component. You do have to make choices and decisions with that other consciousness. So we have the number 2 twice. There's a strong calling for service, for cooperation, for us to remain balanced. Balance to me is one of the core value systems I really work on activating in the many, many arenas of life on the shamanic path. It's not balance to just work, 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 work. You know, people on dating profiles are often like, do you play video games? Ew. And it's like, okay, you guys, just because someone plays video games doesn't mean that they're not productive. I'm an overly productive person. I have to learn to shut my mind off and to stop producing and bearing fruit. And so there are many ways of being. And I would say that there's value in finding balance in those many slices of the pie. Are you embodying the masculine and feminine principle? Are you doing and receiving equally? Are you being balanced in your giving and receiving? Perhaps, like many that I've met down here, you're an overgiver. You can fall into some martyrdom where you suffer and nobody asked you. No one in humanity said, can you suffer so that we can have? As my sister often reminds me, nobody asked you to be a martyr, Heather. So maybe this year we can drop that and learn to receive love, receive graces, receive offerings, receive kindness, receive the grace of the universe. So coming into balance is a huge quality of 2, because it's like the scales. It's like if you have too much weight in this, the scales will not be balanced. In order to get to balance, you need to address both sides of the scale. So we're going to, in the coming year, again, have a strong theme in cooperating with others. That would be different than judging them. Which is always an abundantly strong opportunity that leads to toxic poison down here, a common normative that's no longer working. So we can cooperate with others. We can remain balanced, not get off kilter or out of balance because of what others are doing. It's never going to be up to you what others do. It's definitely up to you what you do in response to what's going on around you. And that 1 comes in and tells us to be independent as well. As much as we are cooperating with one another, we need to also, to stand in the positivity of this galactic number reflection, we need to think of the self. We need to be self-caring, self-respecting, self-reliant, independent. We need to be creative. We need to be confident about our creations. We need to really step into the individual, independent expression of what we are, and to step more fully into that. And as we work with those energies of staying in balance, being cooperative instead of judgmental, being independent, self-reliant, creative, moving towards one's vision, we will activate freedom and discipline, which is 5. And freedom and discipline is sounds oxymoronic. If you have 5 in your chart, I just said something oxymoronic to you. Every 5, when I'm doing their numbers, I'm like, okay, let's talk about why freedom is a match to discipline. Because in this realm, freedom feels like I do whatever I want. At Earth School, freedom feels like I do whatever I want. I get to do this and do that, and I just do whatever I want. And we've talked a little bit about how the ego will sometimes convince you that you're truly free and liberated if you just do whatever you want. Well, it actually requires discipline to hold certain titles. There are many titles available to every 2-legged if they would but choose those titles. So, for example, if you want to be an artist, if you want to be a painter, you can be free and just do whatever you want and not ever paint. But it's going to be difficult to give yourself the label of artist. Because in order to be an artist, you must bear fruit in the vein of art. And that requires the discipline of sitting down with a canvas or with whatever your medium is, with your tools, and producing the artwork. In the same vein, you can be free to not do yoga this year, let's say, or you can be disciplined and choose to do it once a week because you are aware that you're moving through time and the choices you're making become the end line of the life you will have lived. So you say, okay, I want to have more active, I'm going to find a yoga person. Mary Armstrong is somebody, Nicole, my friend Nicole from Petaluma, so if you're in California, I call her Tesla because I love Tesla. But Nicole Pryke is somebody you can follow. Mary Armstrong is somebody you can follow. Or just finding any person and once a week being disciplined about that discipline of Pilates or that discipline of yoga or that discipline of Kung Fu or that discipline that you may want to add, and give yourself 52 experiences this year by once per week activating it. If you do that, if you do yoga once a week, or if you do yoga 3 times a week as opposed to 3 times a year, the discipline of that is going to cause you to naturally, as you move through life, be more centered, be more grounded, be able to breathe when you get stressed. 7 out of the 8 pillars of yoga revolve around really getting one's consciousness into a more meditative practice. Those are the primary functions and pillars of yoga. It's not about the physical form of it, which Westerners can be a little obsessed with their bodies and obsessed with form instead of content. It's really about centering the mind so that when we get stressed, our natural rhythmic response from having disciplined ourselves in the practice of yoga is to calmly breathe and consider what would serve as the ideal response based on who we want to show up as in the world. So this coming year is going to give us the opportunity to get disciplined and to experience freedom as a result of it. There are certain things I like to do that I consider free, but all those things that I like to do that I consider free, whether that be play video games or whatever it is that I do in my spare time, I do that at night. I wake up in the morning, I drink water from a copper vessel, I get my coffee going, and then I get focused on my work. I do some chores, make sure the house is squared away so that I feel like I'm in a really clean, sacred space if there's anything I didn't finish the night before. And then I work. And then my goal is to work and to study and to activate understandings for myself. And then at the end of the night, I allow myself to relax and to play and to do whatever I want with the rest of my day, because I have been devoted to activating the discipline around that which I want to see my life become. So today is January 1st of 2021. So when we do numerology, we add the numbers 1 by 1 by 1. So 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 plus 2 is 4. Plus 2 is 6. Plus 1 is 7. So I just added January 1st, 2021 together, number by number, and I get the number 7. So today is a day of trust and openness. 7 is all about trust and openness. We launch into 2021 with trust and openness energy. Is there any way in which you're being overly trusting and not really evaluating and observing before you make decisions to move forward? Are there ways in which you've blocked trust? You've decided to no longer trust. You're holding ideas that all of humanity is this way because you've had a slice of pie of experience that has shown aspects of humanity being a certain way. And are you closed? Are you closed or are you open? So today we're actually activating in the very first day of this year the opportunity for us to connect with the frequency of how open do we want to be, how receptive do we want to be as a person, do we want to expect the entire world to be just like us, or do we want to allow for diversity? Do we want to forgive anyone today? Anyone you need to forgive from 2020 when we were dealing with stabilizing tornadoes? Is there anyone you need to forgive back there? Maybe yourself. Maybe yourself, maybe your beautiful self. Maybe there's some choices you made that were a little left of your typical center. And so today is trust and openness. Again, tomorrow we go into January 2nd, 2021. It becomes an 8, abundance and power. So each day you can actually just add up the days and you can look up the numerology for that day. So yeah, I just wanted to invite everyone to consider how you want to activate freedom and discipline in the coming year. If you're somebody that studies A Course in Miracles, this is one of the largest gifts in my toolbox as a shaman. A Course in Miracles was channeled by an atheist, and it is believed to be Jesus or Yeshua ben Joseph. She was raised with Judaism, was an atheist, and started hearing a voice. And that voice kept saying, "This is A Course in Miracles, please take notes." And this is what came out of that. This is an ego deconstruction system and something I highly recommend, something that has a lesson for every day of the year, 365 lessons in here and over 700 pages of text to follow with. So I highly recommend this if you want to start a new discipline this year. And I wish you bright blessings in this 2021.